Hey everyone, this week on Pizza Roundtable, I'm talking with Ali Wilansky, who's a freelance food writer out of Brooklyn. I'll pick Ali's brain about what it means to be a food writer and try to get an inside look at how some of these articles come together. We'll also talk about Ali's Dirty Martina Pizza, how Domino's can tip you for tipping, Milan's late night pizza ban, and how you can create your own 4-foot pizza next time you're on a construction site. Welcome everyone to Pizza Roundtable, part of the Pizza Club Network. Every week we cover the biggest news stories in the pizza world. I'm your host, Will Dumas, and I'm joining us tonight is our special guest host, Ali Wilansky. Ali is a freelance journalist who writes about food, travel, and the lifestyle in between. She's been featured in many of the publications we talk about here on the show, from Forbes, Southern Living, and Food Network. You can also check her out on her Substack to keep up to date with everything that she's writing about or doing just in general. So, Ali, in general, welcome to Pizza Roundtable.
Thanks for having me. This is so fun.
I love it. I'm so excited. As I was kind of chatting beforehand, I was interested in grabbing you to come on, so I'm so excited that you were able to make it. And I'll give everyone a quick introduction in that, like, one of the articles that actually caught my attention that I think we'll get into is you were happened to have been writing about pickles, and it was for National Pickle Day or something of the sort. And it caught my attention because there's a bunch of pizza with pickles kind of items that you were covering on it. I think that might have been for Forbes. So that was my first introduction. So I don't even need to ask you if you're interested in pickles on pizza because I'm feeling
I
like you
love
could
it.
go that you could go that direction. Awesome.
I love pickles in general, but I think it's so good on pizza. Yeah.
uh, excellent, excellent. We've moved in general from like pineapples being the controversial ingredient to pickles now, I think is like the next one. So I'm glad you're on the team pickle.
I feel like pickles are having a moment. They're like, I had a pickle martini recently. Like, pickles are in everything.
I feel like there might be a trend here with martinis for you, but we'll get there.
Yes,
We'll
that's
get
a
there in a
problem.
we'll get there. We'll get there in a second. So, in general, why don't you give us a little bit of your background, Ali, so everyone kind of get to know you a little bit about what you do.
Sure. So I've been a freelance writer for about 2 decades, and I write mostly about food, cocktails, travel, all the fun stuff.
Awesome. Okay, cool. And as I mentioned before, so freelance journalism, kind of the idea behind that, you get to pitch publications or people pitch you articles, right? So you're not necessarily, I'll call it stuck to one place, right? You kind of got a
Right. I'm not on staff.
broad array of where to be able to write to and publish.
Yeah, I'm not on staff anywhere, which means no one owns me. I am like a solo, person. And so, yeah, I write for a bunch of outlets from Food Network to Southern Living to The Kitchen to Travel and Leisure. Yeah, basically, you could write for anyone who accepts your stories.
Okay, awesome. I like that. So, interested in general, if you want to kind of start off, tell us, have you always been writing about food in general? Or were you writing about different type of items beforehand? Is food just like the passion that you found now? How did you get there?
Food is my passion. No, I started out as a beauty writer. So I was writing about like makeup and hair and skincare. And as a beauty writer, I ended up reviewing a lot of spas, and you have to travel to go to spas.
Sure.
So, yeah. And so I was like, wait a second, travel is really interesting. And of course, a major component of travel is eating and drinking. And that's when I pivoted more to food and travel, but I dabble in the other areas too, because it's all part of the larger umbrella.
Okay, cool. So, when we think then food in general for you, can I put you in like a genre or style? Do I think like restaurant review? Do I think like new products? Do I think recipes? Or do you write about it all?
At all. So I do some recipe development, but I'm not a chef. Only in my like fantasy kitchen I am. Um, but I write recipes. I also review like, if there's a new flavor of Oreo cookie or a new burger at Burger King, I'm probably writing about that. But also
Mm.
restaurant reviews or like trend pieces like, oh, look, there's caviar and all kind of crap now, so that's a trend piece.
Okay, awesome. I love that. That's awesome. I like the trend ones. I'm a sucker for like new food release. I'll tell you that. We talk about a lot from here, probably like in the pizza equivalent of like new toppings. What's the new thing that people are doing? But let me tell you, I'm all about like the newest food release, as crazy as that concoction can get. I'm totally down for it. So
Oh,
I
it's so
love hearing
fun.
about that. Absolutely. Tell me a little bit about like I'm interested in the idea of like getting So I'll preface it this way. We talk a lot about articles, I think, that kind of straddle the gray area of like a new release, promotion, a new offering, or something somebody's seen as cool. So maybe we're highlighting a product and it seems organic or unorganic. I'd love to get your thoughts in general, kind of that realm of like, I don't want to describe it as like pushing products out there that people are writing about it when it seems as though maybe they're really giving their review, but it may be like a paid promotion essentially, or that kind of aspect of it. I feel like we see that sometimes in food, but I'm interested in your
We
thoughts in
do see that
general.
sometimes. So that's a difference between, so as a journalist, it's never paid at all, but well, it's paid by, publications, but not
Sure,
by the
sure, sure.
right. Yeah. But like influencers or bloggers, they are potentially being compensated.
Mm. I'm with you. Do you have where do you fall on the influencer scale? I'll call it because we talk a lot about influencers, and especially in pizza. Like I feel like you go to your for you page on your favorite social media app, right? And for someone like me, there's a ton of pizza in there all the time, right? And people are pushing it, and it's also interesting when people are pushing new spots, right? And then sometimes you go to them and you're like, this was not what I was expecting at all to happen. But I love your thoughts in general about it,
I
if you
mean,
care to speak.
yeah, of course. Yeah. It's a complicated feeling because I have no problem with influencers existing. I am friends with influencers, but I feel like they do a very different job and they have very different goals. So while an influencer might possibly be paid by a pizza spot to come and try their pizza and say it's awesome, they'll probably be paid by a different pizza spot the following week to say that one is awesome. And therefore, what they're saying isn't necessarily how they really feel.
With you on that.
So yes, while a journalist, they have no skin in the game. Like if they are worth their salt and have ethics, they are actually analyzing things and being like, I appreciate this for this value. Or it's doing research and knowing your stuff versus, pay for play. So I feel like journalists win, influencers don't. To keep it like
Okay,
simple,
okay, I can
yes.
understand that. I'm interested in what you think about it in the sense of though, like
Oh, I
you
think you just
do. If we
froze.
can highlight for a second, you have a the sub. Oh, do you have me back?
I got you back. Yeah, you froze for like a second, but I got you back.
Because you do a Substack, right? And so I'm interested in kind of that idea of like when I think influencer too, like I think there's a creative part to it, where like I kind of get to know that person a bit, and maybe I can appreciate if I wean through it a bit to see what they're pushing out there or promoting, and maybe it's organic or not. Maybe it's up to me to make that determination. But journalism, the same idea in the sense, at least, like you're building the following, right? People know you sometimes for a sense of articles or type or take on things, right? So there's a similarity to that in terms of like I think if you're being organic with it, at least to like drive home that idea, right, of like getting attention and pushing something out there. I'd love to hear
Yeah.
about how you kind of do that, maybe through like the Substack that you have now.
Sure. So I created the Substack actually because a lot of how I find out about things is publicists will email me and be like, "Hey, my client is doing this new release or whatever. Would you like to try it out or would you like to review it or do you want more information?" And very often they would email me and say, "What are you working on right now?" And I wanted to have like a one-stop shop where like 'cause I get like 800 to 1,000 emails a day that everyone who wants to email me and know what I'm working on or what I've recently published go to one place. So look at it. It's like
Okay.
basically, yeah, my news. It's essentially my email newsletter. That's really all Substack is.
Yeah.
And so in there, every single day, I share what I'm working on, what's recently published, but then like industry tidbits, like I went to an event and it was interesting, or I tried this new pizza and it was, I like this. So it's basically like trying to them to get to know me as a person
Yeah.
versus just a line. And it's gone very well. And it's really created a sense of, I want to say almost community, which I really appreciate.
Awesome. Okay. I can totally appreciate that. Is
Yeah.
it like is do you can you engage within the Substack though in any sort of way? Or is it kind of one way in that sense, or do you take the Substack offline for like engagement, right? Like that you're pushing it out to them, and then like from an engagement perspective, is it social media? Is it like in person? Where do you how do you kind of go from there?
There's all kinds of engagements. So yeah, we do have like comment threads on there, or people could direct message me. And then occasionally I'll do like a Zoom, like ask me anything session with like a Q&A. But we have done in real life cocktail parties where I'll be like, hey, I'm going to be doing a happy hour at this bar, stop by. And so that was really fun also.
Okay. Well, listen, speaking of cocktails, I have a feeling you may be into cocktails, particularly one particular style. So tell me a little bit about like the martini life. I feel like I'm putting it that way for you. Martinis are your jam.
Martinis are my jam. I'm really into dirty martinis. In fact, yeah, there's a dirty alley, which is a dirty martini that I helped to create that was named after me, which is kind of like my little brag. But I do appreciate martinis in general, and I am always on in the pursuit of finding the best ones.
Is there one? Is it like a perpetual unicorn that you're chasing? Like, is there a best one? Like, how? What does it consist of? What does it look like?
I mean, I think I want to say the best one is mine, but it's probably not true. Mine is really good though. No, I think it has to be super cold, like basically ice chips in your mouth. I like it very briny. I think it needs a really good hand stuffed blue cheese olive. Like I like my martinis a little fancy. I'm not a super fancy girl, but my martinis are.
Is this a vodka martini, gin martini? What are we going with?
I see. I know that gin is a little bit more traditional, but I'm a vodka martini girl.
That's okay. I feel like that's on trend. That's the way to go nowadays. So
Yeah, it's just I can drink more of them and not get a hangover, which helps.
also a wise decision. So that's fair. Well, listen. Speaking of martinis, I'd be interested if we can maybe jump quickly into one of our first articles for the day.
Of
I think
course.
I think this one might be a good one to highlight. So let me share it up here for a second. So tell me a little bit about this article here. And this is in Appetito magazine, correct?
Mhm.
And it's how to make a dirty Martina pizza. And it's Gelso and Graham's The Dirty Alley is a clever twist on the dirty martini flavor profile in pizza form. And here's how to make it. So let me say, in general, to start off with, this is a beautiful looking pizza. I would be all about it. So tell me,
You should
how
try.
did this come to be? How did this come to be?
Okay, so it's literally this pizza is based on my Dirty Alley martini, and they reached out to me and they were like, "We're inspired by your martini to make this pizza. We want to name it after you." And as a girl who grew up in Brooklyn, having a pizza named after you is like the ultimate.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I am biased, but it's really delicious.
Are you normally like a white pizza fan in general? Are you a traditionalist in the pizza form anyway? Do we love red pizza like bases, or do we dabble in white pizzas, or is this an exception for you that you had to go this way
This
for
is an
this one?
exception. I am a
Okay.
red pizza girl. I love fun toppings. I like going a little spicy, maybe some like spicy pepperoni or hot honey. But this was a complete departure. There's blue cheese on there, there's olives, there's two types of red onions to give you a serious like funk. It's a totally different pizza than I normally would order, but it's been working for me.
This is so. I was gonna point out the two red onion thing, which I thought was cool. So it's pickled red onions, which I'm always a fan of, but then also raw red onions on top as
Hmm.
well. And this, I mean, this is a heavy cheese pizza for blue cheese. I think. Listen, I'm a blue cheese lover, but there's a lot of cheese in this one. You were getting whacked in the face with blue cheese in this pizza for sure.
You better like it. And when I go and I get this pizza, I always get it with a martini because I feel like it's just the appropriate way to enjoy this. So you're being whacked in the face with the olives and martini on both ends. It's very briny. It's very like savory umami. It's not your traditional pizza, of course. But you
No,
know what? It's fun.
no, it looks great. I'd be totally down to give this one a
You
whirl.
should. You totally should. I mean, it's not traditional at all, but when you taste it, you're gonna be like, "Yo, this really tastes like a dirty martini."
So where is Gelson Grand?
In Little Italy,
Wait,
in
literally.
Manhattan.
Okay, I was in Bronx, Little Italy, or Manhattan, Little Italy. So okay, got it.
Yeah, no, no, Manhattan. Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool. I like it. So tell me a little bit about just in general your pizza style. Do you make pizza? Do you make pizzas at home? So you mentioned you do. You cook. You're not a chef, but you cook, right? You write recipes, so I know
Yeah.
you got to be cooking. Do you make pizzas? Tell me a little bit about what are you making at home?
Okay, so I make sort of an abbreviated version of pizza because I live in a really tiny studio apartment. So I have a very small kitchen. So
Okay.
what I do, my little cheat, and this is probably gonna like break your heart, is I take Trader Joe's has this frozen garlic naan, and I use that
I'm
as my pizza.
familiar with it. I'm familiar with it. It is good. I will give you
It
that.
is really good. So I use that in my pizza crust, and I make it in the air fryer.
That is unique. I messed with you just for a second because I made a bunch of pizzas before. So if you just to try them out, so that's totally cool. I make pizzas like that for my kids too all the time. So I'm like, yep, flatbread non pizza. Here we go.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing, you come home at night and like you've been to happy hour or you've been running around and you're like tired, you don't feel like cooking. I could make a non-pizza in 5 minutes flat.
It is a good cheat. I don't think enough people do that. Tell you the truth, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, is it the same as a real like pizza? No, but it scratches the itch.
Well, you know what? Listen, on that trend for a second, as we're thinking about home, I'd say this has come up a lot for us from an article perspective, where people are always talking about, hey, if I happen to have leftover pizza, and this one is from Kiss Cleveland for the
Hmm.
site. Chef reveals the best way to reheat leftover pizza. Debate ensues. So listen, there's so many different ways to go about this that I've heard. And I'm interested if you, before I even jump into it, if you have a preferred method of pizza reheating that you can talk about.
Yeah, I actually reheat in my air fryer. I'm an air fryer junkie, as you could see, and I reheat most of my leftovers in the air fryer, but yeah, I would never make pizza in the microwave because that's abhorrent. I think it's like, why would you want to murder your pizza? Are you mad at your pizza? I don't understand. Yeah, I mean, I've done it in a cast iron on the stove, and that's fine,
Mhm.
but I think it's a lot easier. You throw it in the air fryer under 2 minutes. It stays crispy, the cheese stays melty. That's the way to go.
So I'm with you on that. I've definitely used the air fryer before. I'm probably more of an oven traditionalist where I'm just unwrapping the aluminum foil, throwing it in the oven, reheating it. I don't often do the cast iron method, although people are swearing by it. It just feels like a lot for me. I would appreciate the air fryer as well, but I've got a toaster oven, and that is just
Mm.
like so fast. I don't know. I'm like one of those kids that grew up with a toaster oven as a kid and I'm stuck with it, bought one, and they're like, I love it. But I've got an air fryer next to it. I don't do enough things in my air fryer though.
I do way too much in my air fryer. I do 90% of my cooking in there.
Can you what other unique items can you make in an air fryer that people are probably not expecting for you to produce in there?
I make stuffed peppers in there. I've roasted an entire chicken with stuffing in there.
No.
Swear to God. I do that really often because I'm really into meal prep. And so you do that on like a Sunday, you could eat off that for like 3, 4 days.
Oh, high five. I'm a Sunday meal prepper as
That's
well. Good
right.
stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Yes.
sounding very middle-aged right now, but I'm all about the meal prep. But yeah, I do that. I also like to sometimes roast like a tomato and an onion and a jalapeno, and you use that as your basis for your salsa. And you put it all in the air fryer, and then you just like throw it in the blender after, and you're done. It's like roasted tomato salsa. It's so good.
I'm sensing like a cookbook coming out for like the air fryer from you. Have you already
What have you?
dabbled in this? Or are you thinking about this?
I'm thinking about it. It's one of those things. I have a couple of books in my brain, and then I'm always like, but I don't have no time because I have to write like a million articles about random stuff. I never had time to work on like me stuff.
What's the difference from that? I'm interested in here, like from a time commitment perspective. When we think some of the articles, and we'll obviously go through a couple more. They're quick hitting. How much prep time do you put in for a lot of the kind of stuff that you're writing? Are these ideas that sit with you for a long time, like you're thinking about from a book perspective, but from an article perspective, are they really just like I'm seeing it, I'm writing about it? Do these sit in your head for a couple months? Or, I'm sure they're different for each one. I'm not seeing you generalize, but I'm interested where you.
It does vary, but for the quick hit stories, like a new product release, it could be as quick as I find out it's out there at 9 a.m. I pitch it to my editor, write the story, and it's published within 2 hours.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
that's
Now, yeah, now a longer story like the pickle pizza one that you were
yeah.
talking about. That one I worked on for about a week because it had a lot of moving parts. There were like quotes from chefs in there, and I needed to source imagery. So that I worked on for about a week. It is rare I have more than a week to work on something, though. Like, very rare.
Okay. I'm interested when we do, because we do read a bunch of quoted articles. What's it like kind of quoting some of these chefs? Is it hard to get to them? Am I generalizing? Everyone's kind of gruff in the kitchen. We're trying to get their time and happy to sit down with you. I know everyone's different, but I'm trying to do a generalization for it.
I mean, honestly, it's surprisingly easy because chefs love attention. They love to see their name written about. They love to have it shared on social media. They love, love, love the attention. So chefs are actually very easy interviews because they are very eager to be available.
I can see that. That makes sense. Do you have, well, I forgot to ask, I know you said you grew up in Brooklyn, right? Was that what you mentioned? So I'll ask you kind of still in the New York area, or are you in a different area
I'm
now?
still in Brooklyn, yeah. I live
Okay.
in Park Slope.
Any favorite pizza places you can shout out in Brooklyn? Where do you go for pizza, or where would you tell
Oh,
people to
okay.
go from
So
Brooklyn?
I grew up in the Bensonhurst area, like
Mhm.
near Gravesend. And so I grew up with an L&B girl.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
like
right.
when I was a little girl, like every Friday night, my parents would take me and my brothers to L&B. Like that was the place. And still, when I'm at my parents on the weekends to visit, we very often bring in a pizza from L&B because like that's like our family pizza place. But obviously, I grew up near Zafara also,
Mhm.
so of course I appreciate Zafara. But like so now in the Park Slope area, there's no great pizza around Park Slope. There's a couple like Smiling is pretty good.
Mhm.
Um, there's La Rosa, which is I think in the Cobble Hill area, and they're pretty solid. Um, but yeah, I like those. Gelso is very good, but obviously I'm biased. Um,
That's where we get green liner. Like, oh, I'm promoting. I'm not.
I'm
It's
promoting. Am I an
okay.
influencer now? Lucali obviously is very good, and that's not that far away from me.
I'm a big fan of Licali, so I'm all in.
Yeah, they're a quality pizza.
I'm interested when you say L&B, right? I listen. L&B for me is not my favorite, but I didn't grow up on it, and so squares in general are not my jam. But I'm interested. Do you feel a connection? Is there a nostalgia connection to it? Do you think it's the best pizza out there? And honestly, does that even matter? Like when we talk about pizza, tell you the truth, is
I
it just
think
what makes you happy?
it's a nostalgia thing. I mean, honestly, I have a sweet spot in my heart for Chicago style pizza, and as a New Yorker, you're not supposed to say that.
No, don't tell anyone.
No, I know. I mean, obviously, New York is better, but I think Chicago is really good too. And I've been to Emmett's a zillion times to have the Chicago pizza, and I
Yeah.
think it's really good.
So when we're saying Chicago, we're thinking thin crust Chicago tavern style pizza, right? As
No,
opposed
the
to
thick crust.
oh, you like it like deep dish style.
Deep dish. Yeah, my brother says he's like, that's
Oh.
not. Yeah, my brother is always saying he's like, that's not pizza. That's like a casserole. You
You
could do
know,
lasagna.
I dabble in the thin crust Chicago style, but the deep dish, that one's tough for me. That's more lasagna-esque when I
That's
think
exactly yeah.
about it, but
Yeah, that's a debate I have with people. They're like, it's lasagna. It's a casserole. It's not pizza. It is so dang good. Oh my god.
so you're a Brooklyn girl who loves deep dish Chicago style pizza as well. Interesting. All right.
I also like the Detroit style pizza at Emily.
Okay, okay. Emily Squared. So and
Yeah,
they expanded everywhere. To tell you the truth,
they're
I'm at,
everywhere.
so I'm from New York, but I live down in Charlotte now. They're down the East Coast as well, going everywhere. So good props for them. And we've got a couple pizza club members who make some really good Detroit style pizza. And one of them we'll actually talk about in just a minute or two, actually, to tell you the truth. But first, because I know you were talking about travel a little bit as well, right? It's something that you do. I'm interested to get your thoughts on a travel-esque pizza-esque article combination here. So
Mhm.
this one is out of PMQ, and it's why does this famous Italian city want to ban pizza after midnight? So if you don't
Wow,
know, I am talking about Milan, they
really?
are looking to implement a ban on late night pizza. I'll quote here quickly from the article. If you think a proposed ban on pizza after midnight sounds unthinkable in your city, Imagine how it's going over with the people of Milan, Italy. Yet it could take effect as early as next month if the city lawmakers have their way. So essentially, they're looking to kind of, I'll paraphrase here, find a balance between locals and tourism and late night and whatnot. So during the week, they're saying 12:30. Weekends, we're talking 1:30. No food served after that outside for you to sit. Apparently, they tried this ban before in 2013 and it came back and got shot down. So I'm interested though, Ali, in this in general. Do you think anywhere in Milan or anywhere else needs a food ban after 12 o'clock at night?
No, absolutely not. And like, first of all, you can't take pizza away from Italy even after midnight. I mean, that's like sacrilegious. No, but I mean, like, especially like, if you've had like way too much wine or whatever, and you're like walking the streets of Milan late at night, you need pizza.
Yeah, I'm with you. Absolutely. I feel like all we see, at least lately, I feel like discussion from like a city planning perspective, people are trying to develop like social zones, right, where you can be outside, you could be drinking still. So I feel like late night eating pizza, why not? And gelato, not to mention it's pizza and gelato. It's not even just the pizza.
That's crazy. And I mean, that's not even that late at night. I mean, I don't understand even the I get they want to have like, a quiet neighborhood, but people are just going to be in the streets hungry instead. And people who are hangry are louder.
That's a fair point, actually, right? At least you're giving some pizza to them to soothe them, right? Is the way I think about it. Like, I need the pizza, give me the pizza, I'm gonna be
You know
happy.
what? A bunch of cranky people, like cranky terrorists, like who haven't had their foods or just like had their carafe of vino, which by the way is very affordable there, so you drink a lot of it, and then they're not going to be able to have pizza after. That is a disaster. I'm sorry.
I will say that is probably a pretty good travel tip in general. House wine in Italy, amazing deal for a carafe jug. Whatever you're gonna buy there, so much cheaper and so great.
So much cheaper in Spain also, and it's really delicious also. That's the best joke. It's like the best wine ever, and it costs nothing.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's talk a little teacher controversy for a second. So I'm not sure if you know this, but there was recently was a publication. I believe it is from Clever, which is actually a real estate company behind there, right? Then they just did a best uh, pizza city in the country list. And to say that this has caused controversy is an understatement. It was Denver that was actually
But oh my god.
nominated as the best pizza country or best pizza city in the U.S. But the reason I'm highlighting this one is to you is I'm interested in this from surely from a media perspective, right? So now this is publication Westworld who's talking about this, right? So it's Clever was the company first that put out the list, which was then covered by BuzzFeed in an uproar article where people were flabbergasted about how Denver could be the best pizza capital in the world. And you can imagine the kind of commentary that BuzzFeed was on top of it. But now this is Westworld covering the BuzzFeed story from the Clever List story on top of this. Is this like ultimate syndication from an article writing perspective where you have an article talked about it, an article talked about it in another article? I feel like this is keep going round robin for this. Or is this like, wow, I made it with a type of article like this? Or like, I don't know how do I think about something like this one.
It happens a lot. I did a story for, I believe it was Forbes last year, right after Tony Bennett died, about his favorite Italian restaurant in Astoria, like his favorite dish there. And then Tasting Table and I think All Recipes both wrote articles about my stories. So it's totally a thing that happens, but I am still stuck on Denver not being, well, you know what it is? I feel like surveys can completely be shaped on who you ask. And did they just ask people in Denver? Was that what they did? There's no way.
It sounds like it, right? Sounds like it. There was there
Yeah.
was there was no New York, no. So New York didn't even make the list. And to be fair, I don't know. I'm sure you're going to be up on this. In that, like, there's been a real push for like New Haven style pizza is getting like everyone's talking about it nonstop. New Haven didn't make the list. New Canaan made the list for top pizza city, and people are like, "What?" I could at least see major metropolitan areas, but New Canaan over New Haven, and you drop
All
New
right.
York
There is
and
bias
Chicago.
there. Yeah, they could shape it. You could shape any survey any way you want by just choosing who you ask the questions. And I think that's what they did there.
So I'm interested that you say that. We don't have an article for a representative perspective today, but in general, we get a lot of lists here that we talk about, and it's top 10 pizzas from here, from this city, or best pizza ever, right? Kind of thing. And I think we all collectively joke about a lot of them because a lot of times there's very limited information about how that survey was conducted, how the top 10 number was ranked. Somebody said, have you ever put together any kind of list or top ranking type items before? And what's that like working on those? And do you feel it's important to kind of give the background of like, hey, I came up with this because of X, Y, and Z, right? Or at least some kind of thought process behind how you got that.
Right. And I mean, it's everyone's opinion because I totally have done stories like top 10 French fries at chain restaurants or whatever. I've done those stories, but it's all my opinion. Like, I went and I tried it, and these were my personal top 10. You may go there and be like, that's bullshit. I don't agree with you. And I think surveys could be the same because you don't know how large the sample size are, the people that were asked, where they were asked. Like, were they asked while sitting in a Denver pizza place?
Agreed. We polled 1,000 Denver citizens, right? And you're like, oh, interesting. That was the outcome. I hear what you're saying with that. And
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest things for us, like that we talk about from a medical perspective all the time when we read these top whatever lists, and we're always just kind of like, man, give us a little bit of data, just a glimpse into how you at least came up with this, as opposed to
It's so biased.
we followed our nose, and I'm like, that's not what I'm looking for to understand, like how you came up with this.
Oh,
But
wait, you froze again?
yeah, what can you do? Um,
Oh, there you
let's
are. Okay.
let's shift a little bit. I'm interested in talking about maybe a pizza that I don't know how you're going to feel about it yet. I have an opinion because I'm thinking you're from Brooklyn, so I'm going to generalize to you. But this article is out of Pizza Marketplace, and it's about Domino's. So I'll ask you about your chain pizza thoughts in a second, but I will mention not to bias you. We do talk about Domino's a lot on here, and they have some pretty interesting promotions. Not gonna lie, that have caught a lot of attention. So we're constantly talking about them because they're constantly coming up with something else. So in general, this one for Pizza Marketplace this week, Domino's to tip customers who tip delivery drivers. So in general, starting April 29th, customers who leave a tip of $3 or more will receive a $3 coupon for their next online delivery order placed the following week. So, seen a various amount of promotions of this, right? Where Domino's doing these kind of like small dollar percentage deals where like if you come and pick up the pizza, we'll give you a tip for picking it up. Now it's if you tip your delivery driver, we're going to tip you on top of it. So I'll ask you your thoughts in general on the promotion, but first, what do you think of chain pizza? Does chain pizza have a place in the world, or are you a pizza
It
snob? Don't
does
go
have
for
a place in the world because you might live in a place like Denver and not have a lot of good pizza. But as a Brooklyn girl, honestly, I was never really going for like Domino's just because I have a lot of great options. Like, why would I? But I think it has a place because I understand I'm very lucky and I have a lot of options, and a lot of cities don't have those options. So Domino's needs to exist.
Cool. That's a very respectable answer. I can appreciate that.
Right.
And
But I think promotion's a great idea, though. I mean, like, I think that people don't tip enough, and I think this will encourage people to tip, if only for selfish reasons. And sometimes you have to use people's narcissism in their favor or against them.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I can go that way with this one for sure. Down for it. I'm with you. And like I said, we do see some pretty cool stuff out of Domino's, at least from an incentive perspective. We're always a little bit interested in where everyone else is in the world. I feel like I don't see as much about Pizza Hut or Marco's or Papa John's, but Domino's is out there on the social media space all the time with different promos, and they've been quite successful with it. So
They have a good social media team. Honestly, I kind of like Pizza Hut. Like, if I was gonna go to a chain, I remember back in like the 80s when I was like a little girl and Pizza Hut was like fancy and had the red chandeliers and the
yeah,
buffet. Like, that was cool.
the buffet has a special place in my heart. That's like the jam I would go to. We got like my red cup, went there, or I got my like personal pan pizza for reading the book when you were a kid. So like we're all about it. They come up
And
with
you
a
come
whole
out
lot
like,
also.
all steamy and cheesy. Yeah, Pizza Hut was pretty good. It's not as good at this point in history, but it was good then.
No, that's cool. I love it. Um, Tell me, being in Brooklyn, have you ever been to a Costco?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Because Costco gets a lot of promotion for its pizza, or we also get a lot of articles about, top frozen pizza product that Costco has and whatnot now. But I don't know if you're as obsessed with as many people I've seen are with the Costco food court, but it's a thing,
Hmm.
right? Like people would get memberships just to like be at the food court for lunch, right? And have like your
It's
dollar
good and it's
fifty,
so cheap.
yes, your
Yeah.
dollar fifty hot dog or whatnot. But now the newest Costco craze people are looking for is the hot dog condiments to go on your pizza. So people are seeking out the onions that you would do on your hot dog to do as a new pizza innovation on top. Depending upon the store where you go, you can even get them to put it on your pizza, put it back in the oven potentially, and take it out, heat it up, as opposed to just dripping them along the top. So, in general, Ali, have you had Costco pizza before?
I have had Costco pizza, but I've never done the onion trick, and I'm into it because clearly I like onions on pizza. My pizza has two kinds of onions. So I'm all about that. No, I've had Costco pizza though, and I'm like, whenever I'm there and I get hungry, it's kind of one of my go-tos.
Yes, I love it as well. I feel like honestly, like I said, we continually talk about Costco and people are very innovative there. I'm very always surprised about it. I don't know if you've seen this one yet, but there was a thing where you actually you get the hot dog, you put it in the pizza and you roll up the pizza around the hot dog and now you have a hot dog stuffed pizza.
I mean, that's interesting. I do like fusion. I mean, Costco's so wild. I mean, it's really the Wild West, but I appreciate it. I mean, they've had a $5 rotisserie chicken for like 20 years.
Yeah, it's amazing and it's great. We actually know others who use it when they do like pizza pop-ups and whatnot. They'll go to Costco because it's a better deal for them to grab the chicken done, pull it, and then have to like go out and make chicken by chicken, heat it up, and put the pizza. Like it's amazing.
Oh
People
yeah.
utilize it.
You can use it
Um,
in so many ways. Like they're losing money on that place, I swear.
I would say though, I think you could if you go for the Costco pizza and do the hot dog roll up, and you brought it home and put it in your air fryer. I think you might find some magic might happen from it. So just
I might be
saying,
trying that.
next time
I,
might want to give it
yeah.
a whirl.
There's a brick in Costco. I could get there pretty easily. I might try it. Yeah.
All right, listen, we got time for just a couple more real quick. So, I will say this one real. I'm interested in your thoughts on this one. This one really caught my attention. So, this one is out of, I don't even know this publication. It's called Whiskey, and it's construction worker creates 4 foot pizza um, on job site with smooth drum roller and forklift. So
Hmm.
they flattened out this pizza using the like drum roller and then they cooked it in this little device over there on the right, which is like two a makeshift oven between like bricks that they heat underneath with like aluminum top and bottom. I've never seen something like this, but this really caught my attention.
I
I'm
mean,
not gonna
it's
lie.
genius. Like, I am not a construction knowledgeable person at all, but I'm all for like finding ways to use things creatively.
So I'm interested in your thoughts on this one though in general. Like, how did these little like snippet unique items come up where they like this was a TikTok video, right? And now it becomes an article, right? Tell me a little bit
Hmm.
about the idea behind this. Like, is this a I don't know, 100 word article that needed to be created and just to like kind of like show off the TikTok page? Does this really draw views in, other than me being the pizza news person to find it? Like, what's the purpose for these articles versus maybe some of the longer form content ones that you see out there?
I mean, like, honestly, going on places like TikTok or Instagram looking for fun, weird things like that, and then pitching it to your editor is a lot of what freelancers do. Like, yeah, and like, so they found it on TikTok, they pitched their editor, they got the assignment, and
Mm-hmm.
they wrote about it, and that kind of thing could potentially go viral because people are like, "Oh, that's weird, that's interesting. Let me like send it to everyone I know." And then they get a viral story. And that's a publication I'd never heard of, so I don't know how quickly they're going to go viral, but it may be picked up by someone else.
So now we're getting the repost of the repost in general. But for
Right.
you, would you, when I think about it from your kind of seat, do you have just like a Rolodex in your head of like, hey, this type of article will go, I could pitch to this type of publication because they'd run something like that versus perhaps I don't know, Southern living who may not be rolling this dumpster truck over pizza to bacon oven outside type,
Right.
type
Like the
items.
kind Yeah, being part of like work, like being a freelancer is kind of like finding the right fit. Like certain type of articles, you could pitch to one publication, but not to another, just because you know the kind of stuff that they're into.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. Okay. So you're like kind of like, yeah, I feel like you're like in the middle, like pitching, like knowing everyone, right? You gotta like know where to go with this type of this kind of content, that type of content. Like, that's crazy.
It is. I mean, like being a writer, half your job is not even really writing at all. It's like researching and emailing.
Yeah, that's I feel like that's a lot. And well, I guess you
Yeah,
also gotta like source material too, right? You gotta be trend spotting if you're writing trend items, right? Or be like on point to what's out there. Where do you draw some inspiration from for other things on your
I do
kind of
spend
pitch?
Yeah, I do spend a lot of time like at night, like before I go to sleep, scrolling TikTok, scrolling Instagram. Sometimes I'm just like browsing aisles at the store. Like I'll be at Trader Joe's and I'll be like, yo, this is a really cool new product. I should pitch a story on ways I could use it. So it's just honestly, a lot of it is just living my life. I'm a food person. I might be at a restaurant and be like, well, this is an interesting like mashup of ingredients I've never imagined. Let me see if other people are doing this now too. So it's a lot of stuff like that.
I'm interested in when you kind of say like, hey, Trader Joe's or wherever else that you're sitting. Do the national kind of like brands or chains in general just garner more attention than local? And I think about it from the perspective of like maybe New York's a little unique, right? Where I think New York probably gets more attention than other areas. Where like maybe there's an opening in New York. Someone I could read about it if I'm in a different area. But do people care about the local mom and pop type things if you're not in that area? Do you get like have to go more towards like things that could get picked up in a bigger sense? I'm interested in kind of your thoughts around that.
Yeah, you have to go more national, mostly because you want people to read your article about a product and be able to go where they are and get it. You want them to search for it, but you also want it to be of interest to them. Like writing about something that's only available in one city that doesn't affect most of your readers, they're not going to care. They're going to tune out.
Fair, fair. Yeah, I mean, it seems natural like that, but I sometimes I feel like that's a tough one because there's some pretty cool articles that we pick up, and they're like, oh, I'm like, this is so unique from someone in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they might have a cool pizza and that could get some attention to it, and not even from us from like a syndication perspective trying to get out there, but I'm like, that story's so cool. I wish more people could see it, know about it. Like that's so interesting. So I feel like sometimes I wish some of those little ones got out there and grew bigger, as
And they
opposed to
do,
so
it's
much
a
as
really
the
cool, like,
major chain
I,
ones, right? That we
yeah,
talked about.
that's more of a human interest story, and it does happen. But like, yeah, it has to happen. Then it's more like this interesting thing happened, and it sparked it happening somewhere else. So it has a place. It does.
So when you say that, when I think human interest, I'm interested in. Do you feel as though in any way food writing's kind of changed over time? Is it more or less about the food and or more or less about telling a story with the people behind it? I know I'm generalizing, but I'm interested in what direction you find yourself writing more about now.
I think it's definitely sometimes a thing. Like sometimes chefs have a really interesting backstory, and that like speaks to how they cook or how they source their ingredients. So it becomes a part of it. But yeah, definitely still it's like flavors and flavor combinations. And sometimes you notice like this weird trends in ingredients being everywhere in different ways. Like it's kind of fun.
So I'm interested in just if we pull them out for 1 second, when you're writing for like publications, let's say someone like Forbes or Southern Living, right, for instance, or Food Network, do you feel is there a similar demographic you're typically like approaching for some of those major publications? Are they food enthusiasts? Are they just like interest people? I'm interested in what that kind of looks like when you're thinking about putting those pieces together. In general, who you're targeting, or what do you think they're going to kind of pick up on? What do they like to read?
I think they're food enthusiasts. I think a lot of them are like home cooks. They're the kind of people that are probably on like a Sunday morning, like watching the Food Network and watching all those cooking competition shows. And they have a million cookbooks and they're like, I totally want to be the next Bobby Flay, but they're like sitting in their little apartment kitchen and they don't even know how to make a bechamel. So I think it's those people.
And that's when they need your cookbook about using the air fryer, right? Like this is how you get them started, and then they can go on to the next.
Maybe. I mean, it's something that's in my head. It really is. I just have to like get it done.
Do you have any favorite TV food based stuff that you watch you're really into?
I just finished watching Guy Fieri's Tournament of Champions, which is like a chef version of like March Madness.
Yeah, yeah,
And
totally.
Yeah, so it's on every March and it's only on for like I think like basically just 1 month. And I really enjoyed that. I watch Beat Bobby Flay like every week. I watch The Pioneer Woman. I really
Okay.
like yeah, because she's more of a home chef. Like she's not a fancy chef. She doesn't have completely difficult to find ingredients. She cooks kind of the way I cook, and I appreciate that. I
Okay,
like Molly
cool.
L on the same reason.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm a Guy fan. I'm also obsessed with like The Bear as a show on FX.
Oh,
Like,
I love The Bear. I
can't get
think it's
enough
coming
of
back.
it. It is coming back. I'm really excited to see it.
Oh, did you freeze?
Um, so I know we got time. Let's do one or two more quickly. So I want to give a quick shout out to one of our friends from Pizza Club in general. He also hosts some of our shows coming up. So his name is Jimmy Hank. Check it out, Jimmy Hank's Pizza. He goes by the Frico King. So Philly's Frico King needed a better spatula, so he invented one himself. So
Fun.
Jim Henry, the acclaimed pizzaiola behind Jimmy Hank Pizza in suburban Philadelphia, needed a spatula that would let him deep hand and release the Frico for his Detroit style pizzas with ease. So he invented him one himself, the Frico King. So that spatula. So for anyone that's not familiar, when we think Detroit style, we're thinking pan, and they've kind of got this like high cheese edge that comes up, and they call that the Frico, right? So it's cheese around the outside, right?
So good.
That sticks over them. And if you go and check out Jimmy in general, like his pizzas look ridiculous. These cheeses come off like wings off the pizza. So it's kind of cool to see him putting out there and doing his own spatula for it is awesome.
That is brilliant. And honestly, yeah, I love the Frico cheese crust. That's totally my thing.
I love it. I love it. Jimmy's really cool too. So happy to see him get picked up by PMQ. One thing that comes up all the time, I feel like we're always talking about, and we're going to go quickly through these pizza boxes. So in general, Ali, do you recycle your pizza boxes? Are pizza boxes recyclable? I feel like we've tried to come to the end of this debate, but this one from earth.com tries to bring it to us there saying new recycling solution tackles greasy pizza boxes. Essentially, it's like a way to like not contaminate the pizza box so that it can be recycled. Um, so in general, do you, like when you get a pizza, do you throw that pizza box in the recycling bin, or is that a garbage item for you?
I put it in the recycling bin, but I mean, I live in an apartment building. I can't necessarily say what they do with it after I put it in the bin.
Totally, totally. And I think it's a debate where people are always like, I don't know what to do with it. Like if it's dirty, maybe then I put it in the trash, but I still could probably put it in the recycling bin, but does that like impact the rest of the recycling then? And I feel like people say it's recyclable, but I feel like no one really knows. At the
No
end
one
of the
really
day,
knows.
right? But this company here is going to at least be tackling them. So in general, though, I thought this is an interesting stat. Each day, roughly 43 million Americans indulge in at least one slice of pizza, contributing to an impressive 47 billion annually to the U.S. economy. So that's a lot of pizza. I'm not gonna lie.
That's amazing. I wonder how many of them are in Denver.
Probably not that many. We're also probably quickly losing Denver subscribers after talking about them so much as well.
I'm
But
so
that's
sorry. Denver's awesome. I've had some amazing steak there. I just
um,
went to New York because,
well, listen. Here's what I think Denver could probably use, and this will be our last article for the day. This one is out of this is WKFR, another a radio. There's a lot of radio stations writing about Pizza Alley. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what the deal is there, but a lot of these radio
very buzzy.
publications, yeah, right, they're out there. But this one is Jets Pizza will offer drone delivery in Detroit. I'm
That's
messing guys and saying
cool.
that it could be Denver, but I think they're a mile high. Maybe the drone can get up there. It's my point. In general, Jets Pizza will offer drone delivery in Detroit by 2025. So, Ali, in general, I'll say it to you: do you need your pizza delivered?
I mean, I've never had it delivered by drone, but I think I want it. I think I need it.
So apparently, we've heard a lot about this, and the company themselves that is doing it is called Zipline. We've seen, excuse me, a lot of like pizza quote unquote partnerships announced well in advance of them actually going live, where like so and so has agreed to partner with Zipline from a delivery perspective, and I think we've seen one or two of them where like they've kind of used like a park and almost like zoned off like an area. So it's like kind of like a mapped out pickup area where like a drone could drop it off. So kind of a cool idea for like, say you're in Central Park, right? And you're like, hey, if you want to grab a pie, it's going to be in the pizza delivery zone, right? Then you'll have to like get out and go to. But Zipline's talking about doing it into your backyard. in
That's
Detroit in
amazing.
2025. So who knows where the pizza world goes, right?
I mean, I live in a fourth floor walk up. I'll stick my hand out the window. You could just turn it on there. I am so here for that.
I think that's next level, right? When you can open the window, put your be like, thank you.
I mean, I'm sure that's happening somewhere in the world. And like, if it was happening, I would probably order way too much pizza then. But
That's a fair point. Well, listen, Ollie, this all the articles for tonight that we've done on deck. I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on. I'm glad to chat with you. So, in general,
me
though,
too.
tell everyone where can they follow you? Where can they follow you on Substack? When they follow you across social medias? Give us some of your handles so everyone can find you.
Absolutely. So aliewolansky.substack.com is my Substack, and it's a free email newsletter that will be in your email every single day. And on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, all of them, I'm just Ali Wolansky.
Okay, awesome. And if people have ideas that they want to send to you, what's the best way for them to communicate if they're trying to pitch or something?
They could just email me, aliewolansky@gmail.com, and I check my email nonstop, basically 24/7, because I don't sleep.
Oh no! Well, I hope you find some time to eat pizza in between there, at least then.
Yeah, I absolutely do that. I could have insomnia and eat a dirty alley pizza at the same time.
All right, awesome. Well, listen, thanks again, guys. For everyone else out there, please check us out on YouTube. I Need Pizza Club. Follow our YouTube page. We've got a lot of great shows out there and a lot of other hosts doing different nights as well. Please like and subscribe. We love you. Please come out and find us. Once again, Ali, thank you very much. And to everyone else, we'll catch you guys next week for another episode. Thanks all.
Thank you so much. It was so fun.
Totally. See ya.